Is your diet giving you headaches? This is a really important question. There are several potential causes for headaches and migraines, and food is definitely something to consider. Today, I'm going to cover 8 of the common food categories that are potential headache or migraine triggers. And the first one is sugar. So there's a lot of reasons sugar can cause headaches. First of all, it's inflammatory, but a big one is that it can cause a blood sugar spike, and then what goes up must come down. And so that blood sugar drop, between those two, that can be a real problem for headaches. Another thing that happens with sugar is it will feed pathogens like candida or yeast in the gut. They actually will send chemical messages from the gut to the brain telling you to crave sugar, so they do hijack your cravings. But when we feed candida or yeast that sugar, it produces alcohol byproducts. One of them is acetaldehyde. And so that's actually the breakdown product from actual alcohol. And I've had patients with severe yeast overgrowth tell me that they wake up feeling like they have a hangover, even though they haven't drank any alcohol. And so the sugar feeding the yeast is one of those potential causes. And of course, that can be a headache trigger. Number two is ultra processed foods. And so even though ultra processed foods might not contain sugar, because they're devoid of fiber and nutrients, a lot of times ultra processed foods will spike blood sugar in the same way that sugar will spike it. And then, of course, ultra processed foods tend to go along with emulsifiers, preservatives, other chemicals that can be problematic and inflammatory. Number three is artificial sweeteners and other food additives like food coloring. Again, those chemicals, they can drive inflammation and be a headache trigger. I also want to point out, I've even seen some of the healthier sweetener options like stevia for sensitive individuals. I have seen that be a headache trigger. So we have to really think about all of the potential things that could be causing headaches for us. Number four is MSG and other food flavorings. So most of us aren't consuming MSG at home, or at least not when we're cooking. But anytime you go out to eat, and if you struggle with headaches or migraines, I definitely recommend asking if there's going to be any MSG in the food, because that's a really big trigger for people. Number five is nitrites and nitrates. So we typically find these in things like deli meat, bacon, salami, other cured meats. That's another really big one. Number six is excess caffeine and then the caffeine withdrawal. So caffeine has a big impact on blood vessels, and again, that can be a major headache trigger. Number seven is histamine, and I feel like I talk about histamine a lot. It's in a lot of foods, so even our healthy foods like yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi, fermented foods can be so good for gut health, but they are high in histamine. And then leftover foods tend to build and develop histamine. So if I'm working with someone that has a histamine concern or headaches or migraines, I'll typically recommend eating any leftovers within 24 hours or freezing them, because freezing will stop the histamine production. And so anything else, I mentioned the cured meats, but aged cheeses, there are a lot of things that can increase histamine. And now everyone's a little different. Some people might find that they can eat a little bit of bacon or a little bit of cheese or sauerkraut and be fine. But if they have, bacon at breakfast, cheese at lunch, and then deli meat at dinner, that histamine is going to build throughout the day and it can carry over to the next day. So, there's probably a limited amount of histamine that someone can tolerate. And again, it's different for everyone. And then number eight is food sensitivities. So these are low-level inflammatory food reactions. The most common ones are gluten or wheat, dairy, soy, corn, eggs, and yeast. Technically, we can have a food sensitivity to anything, especially if we have intestinal hyperpermeability or leaky gut. What happens is when we eat food, if that barrier is leaky, we can get undigested food proteins leaking into the bloodstream. And then the immune system, which is always on surveillance, is there to protect us. But when it starts to see undigested food leaking into the system, it's like, this doesn't belong here. And so then you start having the immune system reacting every time we're eating. And it can start to react, especially to the foods we're eating on a regular basis. And so I do find the IgG, and that's immunoglobulin G, it's a type of immune protein. I do find that testing to be helpful for some people. It's not perfect. There are limitations to all testing, but when someone's really struggling with headaches and migraines, I have found that to provide some helpful data. Another thing I like to recommend is, again, when I'm working with someone that has headaches or migraines, to really keep a detailed food, beverage, and symptom journal. And if we look over time, we can start to notice patterns or maybe figure out the things that could be triggers. And like I said, histamine's a big one, so you might tolerate a little bit of a food that's high in histamine, but if you eat several servings throughout the day or throughout the week, it will start to build. Definitely consider keeping that food and symptom journal. Go back through, think about these different food categories. Those would be the top priorities to investigate. And then maybe consider food testing. That can be really helpful in some cases. If you do have headaches, my heart goes out to you. Whatever you can do to figure it out, it will really improve your quality of life. And I really hope you found this helpful. Thank you so much.